Saving Edward. It was summertime on the island of Sodor. All the engines were working hard, carrying goods and passengers. They cheerfully puffed up and down the line. All except Edward. Edward was tired. He wheezed as he puffed, and steam hissed out of his cylinders. Molly was waiting at Buzzword Station when Edward puffed up. "Oh dear," puffed Molly. "You don't sound too good. Do you need any help?" "Oh no," groaned Edward. "I'm fine. Just tired." But Molly didn't think Edward was fine at all. Just then, Diesel pulled up alongside her. "What's the matter, Molly?" he asked. Molly told Diesel about Edward's wheezing. That was when an evil grin fell on Diesel's face. "Well, Edward is getting old. He's not good at pulling trains anymore. It's only a matter of time before Sir Topham Hatt sends him away and replaces him with a modern engine like me. And eventually, any steam engine that reaches Edward's age will suffer the same fate." I don't believe you," huffed Molly, but she was upset. And with that, Diesel rolled away, leaving Molly feeling very worried. That evening, Molly was making her way to Napper with a cold delivery. But she couldn't stop thinking about what Diesel had said. What if Diesel was right? Molly thought. What if Sir Topham Hatt decides to strap Edward? Now, Molly should have known better, but Diesel did sound like he was telling the truth this time. When she arrived at Napper Station, she heard Sir Topham Hatt talking on the phone. She knew she shouldn't listen to other people's conversations, but she couldn't help herself. "Isn't there any way you could fix him?" said Sir Topham Hatt. "I see. I guess some things are simply unfixable. Poor old thing. It's such a shame to throw it on the scrap heap after so many years of good service." You're right. The best thing I can do is get a spanking new one. The old one will soon be forgotten. Looks like this one's had its last day on the railway. Molly was shocked. Unfixable. Forgotten. Scrap heap. "But he can't talk to Edward like that," she cried. "He's my friend." "Oh no, if I tell Sir Topham Hatt about Edward's wheezing, it'll make things even worse for him." And with that, Molly puffed wearily away. She wanted to show Sir Topham Hatt that Edward wasn't worth being scrapped, but she didn't know how. The next morning, Sir Topham Hatt had an important job for Edward. "A special delivery of fruit and vegetables is coming to the docks today," he told him. "I want you to take them to Knapford." "Yes, sir," said Edward eagerly. "Molly, you will go to the docks and shunt Edward's freight cars. After that, you can carry on with your usual jobs." "Yes, sir," said Molly, but she was worried about Edward's wheeze. It sounded worse today. Molly and Edward puffed to the water tower. Edward was wheezing so much, he had to stop for a rest. "What's the matter with Edward?" asked Henry. "He doesn't sound well." "He can't seem to get up steam properly," said Molly, "but he'll manage." "Don't tell anyone, Henry." Henry wasn't sure about this. "I don't want Sir Topham Hatt to know," puffed Molly. Henry could see Molly was worried, so he agreed. Molly hurried off to shunt Edward's trucks. Molly was very worried. What if Edward was too weak to pull his train? He would be of no use to the railway. He wouldn't be useful at all. Molly shuddered at the thought. Must keep him going, she said hastily. At the docks, Molly shunted Edward's freight cars into place for him. Soon, Edward's train was ready. It was very long and very heavy. There's no way Edward will be able to get this train started, let alone out of the docks, said Molly. She wanted to help Edward. Then she had an idea. If I pull Edward's train for Edward, Sir Topham Hatt will think Edward is too useful to be scrapped. So Molly buffered up to the long line of freight cars and pulled away. No one saw her leaving the train, not even Cranky, who was focused on unloading another ship. A few minutes later, Edward arrived. He was surprised to see his train wasn't there. Salty, he asked. Have you seen a train of fruit and vegetables anywhere? Why, yes, I have, me hearty, he said. Right there, actually. I don't know where it went. Now, Edward was even more puzzled. In the end, he decided to go to Napper Station and tell them he had lost their load. Hurry up, Molly told the troublesome trucks.
What for?
For Edward, puffed Molly. She was determined not to let Edward down. When she reached the big station, she felt exhausted. She looked around. There wasn't anyone on the platform. Or so she thought. Phew, she sighed. Now I better get out of here before someone sees me. I'm afraid you're too late, said a voice. Molly gulped. This was the last person she wanted to talk to. Molly, this train is 3 hours late, said Sir Topham Hatt. And from what I recall, you were meant to shunt the train, not take it out. Where, may I ask, is Edward? Molly started to panic. She didn't want to get Edward into trouble, so she tried to think of an excuse. Edward took on the wrong sort of coal, sir, she stuttered. The wrong sort of coal, said Sir Topham Hatt. What nonsense! You're going to have to try better than that, Molly. Molly continued thinking of more excuses until they heard a whistle. There's my train, said Edward as he pulled in. What on earth are you doing with it? Molly looked at Edward, then at the train, and then back at Sir Topham Hatt. There was no point in lying any further, so she told Sir Topham Hatt all about Edward's wheezing, what Diesel had said, and about overhearing his conversation on the telephone. I was worried you were going to send Edward for scrap, so I decided to do Edward's jobs for today to make him look more useful. Sir Topham Hatt stared, then burst out laughing. I wasn't talking about Edward, he said. I was talking about my mother's old vacuum cleaner. It's on its last legs and I have to get rid of it. Edward is one of the most valuable members of my railway. I would never dream of sending him for scrap. And Edward, you should always tell me if you have a problem. I would have sorted it out like I'm going to do right now. I will send you to the fitters' yard straight away. You'll soon be as good as new. Molly was very relieved, and Edward was very tired from his long journey. But they both agreed, even when it's hard, it's always best to tell the truth.